So here is my entry for the 10 C's of Survivability Challenge. We'll go ahead and get started with the conveyance device. My choice for a conveyance device, my pack. You guys have seen recently, probably quite a bit. It was in the rucking challenge, and I've had some videos and posts released on the actual build and the completion of the build. It's what Chad Redding and I have affectionately dubbed the Deep Desert Ruck. And what it is a deep woods ruck from Malcolm Cordage over at the Hidden Woodsman. And it's in earth brown with coyote webbing and trim. And I absolutely love it. It's a 65-liter traditional ruck style. Has a mesh pocket on the lid, and that mesh pocket is actually the entire lid. And then it has two large pockets, a large pocket on either side. And I really like the simplistic format of the pack itself, the ruck itself. And then that has been modified by Chad at Ruck Rabbit Outdoors. Chad Redding took the base pack and he put it on an Alice frame, and then did the Hellcat conversion for me. And those of you who aren't familiar with the Hellcat conversion, you take Molly 2 straps and belt and MSS carrier and mount that to the Alice frame with whatever ruck, and that is called a Hellcat conversion. And that is my ruck of choice because of the flexibility and the modularity of the actual build. I can carry it light enough for day use where there is no planned overnight by getting rid of the sleep system and shelter system, or I can load it out for overnight or multi-day very, very easily. And so I really like this. The Molly 2 belt has Molly attachments points, which is fantastic. I can keep my small first aid kit, individual first aid kit. I can keep my fixed blade knife. I can keep both of my canteen carriers, and I can even carry on the belt my rollout harvesting pouch. It's a rollout dump pouch or collection pouch for foraging. And so I like that I can keep all of that on the belt and then very easily take it off once I get to camp. I don't have to carry my ruck everywhere. I can take those items off that I'm going to talk about here in this challenge. I can take those pieces of kit off and put them on my regular belt to just go out, or I can bring an extra belt that I can just snap on over my regular. But I have the modularity of being able to wear it while I'm wearing the pack and still get to it because it's on the Molly waist belt. I love the padded straps and the adjustability of the straps. That's very adjustable, makes it easy to get it set for me and keep it comfortable and carry the weight on my hips instead of all on my back and shoulders. Very comfortable pack. And then the MSS carrier is kind of the star of the show for me in this build, in that when I'm just doing a day hike, I don't need to carry a shelter and a sleep system with me because I'm not planning on staying. Now, part of this video challenge is the ability to, if I'm stuck out there overnight unexpectedly, to be able to provide myself with shelter and all of that, but to not have to carry it. I don't have to rearrange my entire pack. I can leave my core kit together, and then if I'm going overnight or multi-day, I just add to the MSS carrier my shelter and my sleep system, and it works for a tent or a hammock setup for me. Well, at least my tent and hammock setup all fit in there, along with my sleeping bag, my puffy down top quilt, and my inflatable air mattress and inflatable pillow, and my thermal layer, which is actually my sleep clothes regardless of what time of year it is. All of that fits in the MSS carrier. So if I'm going for just a day hike, I take everything out of the MSS carrier and I cinch it up, and it doesn't take up a lot of space and doesn't weigh very much. But it also provides me a place that if I say while I'm out on a day hike I come across a huge cache of fatwood, I can get that processed down small enough to put into a contractor bag and stuff in the MSS carrier and bring it back, and I don't have to keep my hands full or find some other way to lug it around. I can actually get it back on the ruck. But I don't have to, and then when I am going, I can fit all of that stuff into there but I never have to modify my core kit or rearrange it to get all that stuff in, and I really like that. So that is my conveyance device. Let's go ahead and move on to the first section of the 10 C's, and that is cutting. And for me, the most important tool that I have is my fixed blade knife. And I like to carry a blade that's 5 inches in length or less. I don't like a really large chopper knife. I have one, but I don't carry it. I prefer the nimble nature of a shorter blade knife. It does everything that I need it to do. I carry a thick blade, so 1/4 inch or very close to in thickness, 90-degree spine. I don't like serrations, so I try not to carry a knife with serrations, but very functional, and I can do everything I need to do with that. Next in my cutting category is something that even if I'm not in the woods, it's my EDC, it's always in my pocket, is just a little folding pocket knife. This is a Swiss Army knife with 3 tools. It has a standard knife blade, it has a fingernail file so I can keep my nails clean, and if I get a hangnail or crack a nail, I can fix that, get that taken care of. And then it has a little pair of scissors, which is really great for doing like gear repair or whatever, to cut thread. I'm not having to wield a big knife around. I can just pop out the scissors and cut my thread or whatever. But I really like this tool, so that's my folding knife. And then the next item is my folding saw. And again, not worried about brand or maker or whatever. If you like Silky or you like Baco or whatever, that's fine. My preference is, and this is one that I've had for coming up on I think 3 years, maybe even already at 3 years. I really like it for 2 primary reasons. It's fairly light, and that's fine. It's got a rubberized grip, so not, my hand doesn't slip a lot. But I have had, I actually still have, but I don't carry anymore, a SOG folding saw that has the push button blade release, and I really dislike that. I was on a camping trip, and I was sawing through a piece of wood, and the blade caught on a knot in the wood, and my hand slipped up and hit the bottom of the release, and the blade let go and folded around. And had I not been wearing heavy leather gloves, I probably would have done some serious damage to my fingers. So I don't carry that anymore. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm saying it didn't work for me, and I just choose not to carry it any further. I like this one because it has a latch, a lever latch, and it's actually a multi-stage, and then the lever itself has a ramp on it, so if my hand slips, it slides up and over and will not release the blade. But even if I had, gloves got caught and lifted it up, because the release mechanism has to lift this bail up over the catch to let the blade go, it still would not pull. In fact, I'll just show you. So if I set that right, if I were to accidentally catch it and push forward, the blade is still locked in place until I actually push it back and lift up the bail. Now the blade will let go. And that's why I carry this one, because I'm significantly less likely to do what I did with that other one ever again, and that scared the living bejesus out of me. Like I said, had I not been wearing the gloves, which for a while before I put them on, I had been using it without the gloves, and I had just recently put the gloves on when that happened. And thank God I had, because that probably would have been the end of my fingers had I not. And then the other reason I like it is because the blade can be replaced, and I keep in my, not part of the 10 C's, but I keep in my field maintenance kit a replacement blade for my saw. But I can replace it in the field if the blade gets damaged. And this blade has been on there the entire time I've had it. I've used it repeatedly, and I have not had any problems with it. The blade is still in perfectly good condition, still saws fantastically. But I do have the ability to, on the fly, in the field, if the blade gets damaged, I can replace that. So that's why I carry this particular one. This is by Creek Stewart. I got it in an Apaca box. So whenever that box was released, I've had it ever since then, and it's what I've carried. And then the final item on my cutting tools is a combination or a multi-tool, and I'm a Leatherman guy. It doesn't matter if you prefer Gerber or Swiss Army knife or SOG or whatever. I'm a Leatherman guy, and I always carry some kind of a multi-tool. This is my EDC. This is the Sidekick. I like it because I can put it either in the nylon sheath, or I can put it on the belt clip or the pocket clip and just stick it in my pocket. This is probably one of the most simplistic of the multi-tools. It doesn't have a lot of extra functions. It has a basic straight knife. It has a small saw. It has the pliers. It has a very small serrated blade. Very small serrated blade. And then it has a file, a flat blade screwdriver. It has a can opener, bottle opener, combination tool. And then it has a large flat blade and a nice Phillips blade, and that's all the tools on here. But I carry it for the pliers and for the Phillips blade so that I can replace the saw blade if I need to. I can use the little saw for preparing firewood. That's fine. I can use it to strike a ferro rod. So multifunctional. Doesn't have a bunch of extra tools, but it's fairly lightweight as far as a stainless steel multi-tool goes, and so I really like that. And then the only other item that I would put into the cutting tools that I don't carry all the time, but if I need it, on the ruck has a saw sleeve, and axe sleeve, and so I will sometimes carry my Russian trapper's hatchet on there, but I don't always carry it because I don't use a hatchet or an axe very often. I could put a full-size axe on there, but again, for the same reason I don't carry the hatchet, I don't carry the axe. I just, where I'm at, there's almost always enough dead standing and whatever that I don't need to really fell anything or have that kind of workload for wood processing. So the folding saw does pretty much everything I need it to do as far as wood prep. So that is my cutting. Next would be combustion. And for combustion, I split my kit into two components. A lot of people keep it all together. I split it into two. I like to have my ignition system and my tinder materials separate, so I can get tinder out, get my fire all built and ready to go, my lay, and then I can go to my ignition set and get it out. Or if I just need ignition, I don't need to dig around through everything. I can grab this and get just the ignition tools, or I can grab this and get just the tinder items that I need. And then aside from that, I keep in my pocket all the time, every day, whether it's, I don't smoke cigarettes or whatever, but I always keep a lighter. And so this is a Cricket, and the reason I choose Cricket is because it's butane refillable, works just fine for me, and then it has also refillable flints, and the flint wheel comes out, so even if I'm out of fuel, I can carry just that to use as a sparker to get a fire going, kind of like a flint and steel or whatever. But they are also exchangeable, so if you have another clipper lighter and the flint runs out on one and the fuel on the other, you can take and you can swap these flint wheels out so you have a fully functional lighter. And so in my kit I actually have 3 or 4 of these at all times. I keep one in here, I keep one in my container, I keep one in my pocket, and I usually have one on a lanyard that Terry Taylor made for me as well. But I always have at least 2 and usually 3 or 4 lighters with me. So let's move on to combustion. I always recommend, again, my personal preference, but I always recommend that people carry at least 3 forms of ignition and at least 3 forms of tinder material that are easily sparkable so that you can get fire going. Fire is life in the woods and in the wilderness. So my 3 preferred methods are flint and steel, which I keep in this particular tin. This is a Hudson Bay tobacco tin. I have the Convoy steel. I keep a piece of flint, and then I keep char cloth and char rope in there. And just a fantastic flint and steel. Works really well. I've had no issues with it. Every time I use it, I get my ember going and I can start a fire. I use the Hudson Bay tobacco tin. I bought it to actually put pipe tobacco in for my pipe. But when I opened it, there's a little label in the bottom that says, do not store tobacco in this tin directly. Use some kind of a baggie. And so I opted against using the baggie in here. I went with a different thing to carry my pipe tobacco in my pipe. And I went ahead and did like almost everybody else, and I put my flint and steel kit in here with my char material. But I do like that it has built into it a 5x magnifying glass lens. So I have solar ignition along with flint and steel in this particular kit. And I really, really like that. Along the lines of solar, I also have a solar ignition kit that is standalone, and it has a 7x magnification lens. I keep that in this little leather pouch. And this is a screw lid. The little tin could be used to make char material if I needed it, but I don't typically do that. I keep some char cloth in there. And then in the lid, there's a little piece of foam at the top, and I keep my 7x magnification glass lens in there. So that is my solar ignition setup there. And then the 5x would obviously be the backup to that. So that's 2, and I count the lighter, but I don't count the lighter. I like to use the more traditional ways of ignition. The lighter is more my emergency, unless I'm just absolutely desperate to get a fire going as quickly as possible, in which case I will go to straight to a lighter to get it going. But otherwise, my preferred method is to use one of the more traditional ignition techniques and tools. So I keep that's the one I had in my pocket. That's the one that goes in the kit. And then I keep a ferro rod. This is a Terry Taylor custom. I keep a piece of fire cord on there as a lanyard, just like I do on my fixed blade knife. So I always have a little bit of extra flash tinder or emergency tinder. I also have some cotton linen fabric in here to make more char material if I need it. And like I said, this little tin could be used for that, so that's why I keep it in there, just so I have some spare. And then I keep a pocket bellows for stoking my fire without having to put my face down in it. I really hate having to put my face down in the fire. And then I also have in here right now, I don't normally keep it in there, but I also have in here a fire piston. This is an aircraft aluminum. I think it's called a Ranger. No, it's a Scout. Scout fire piston. Has the screw open compression chamber bleed valve. So it's nice. It works. Of everything that I carry, this is what I use the least. But I often like to practice with something that is beyond flint and steel, solar, and ferro rod. Do friction fire sometimes. I have a takedown bow drill kit. I have this. I have done hand drill. But these are my go-to items that I keep with me all the time. So that is my ignition section of my combustion kit. Go ahead and put those items away. And we will move on to tinder. And tinder, again, I like to keep at least 3 different kinds of tinder. I have more than that in here. I keep fat wood. Keep 3 or 4 pieces of fat wood, usually 4.5 inches or so long, that I can make feather sticks out of, that I can scrape down to make fat wood dust. And then I also carry, so I have fat wood sticks down here, and then I have tulip poplar bark and birch bark. Fat wood I can get locally. Tulip poplar and birch do not grow here. So I had some friends around the country who have been very kind and generous and have actually sent me some of that to keep in my kit, and I keep that in strips. I can go ahead and process it into fibers. or I can scrape it and make dust out of it, but I keep it in strips and it's all dry and in individual Ziploc bags to keep it dry inside this dry bag. And then I keep in here char material, so more char cloth. And this is a little Altoids tin with a Ranger band around it so I can make more char material. And then this is a little cigarillo tin with extra cotton linen, an entire piece, 3 by 3, 3 foot by 3 foot square, 1 square yard of cotton linen fabric so that I can cut that down and I have more material to make char cloth for next fire mentality. And the tin could be used for making char cloth as well, but right now I just store that material in there. Both of those have Ranger bands, which can be used to make fire. As a tinder, it's flammable. And then the last item I carry in the kit here is this little brass snuff tin, and in it I keep pre-processed fatwood dust and shavings for making feather sticks. When you do that, sometimes some of the little feathers or curls come off, and so my cat is here to join us. So one of my 3 cats, but I keep that in there, and I call that fairy fire dust. I put that in my bird's nest material. Oh, one other thing I carry in here, I will pull out, I think, and show you. Chad Redding did a video on his YouTube channel that was absolutely fantastic on this. And this is processed jute, waxed jute or processed jute twine. And you can buy the jute twine really inexpensive at any Dollar Tree or dollar store, and then take a shedding brush or a flea comb. You can buy those pretty cheap at Dollar General or whatever. They're not high quality, but they have these really fine metal teeth. And you roll your jute cord out, your jute string out, and take that little comb and brush through it. It'll separate it into all these fine little hair-thin fibers. And this is all compressed, so it's about the size of my fist, maybe a little bit bigger. But that is enough stuff to make a couple of fires, to make a tinder bundle for a couple of fires. So I expand that out, fluff it up, and put some of this down in it, and I can get my spark onto char material, put that in there, and blow that into flame very easily. Fantastic for making fire. So birch bark, tulip poplar bark, jute, fatwood dust, and char material, all in my tinder kit. All right, let's move on to item number 3, and that is container. And I will show you what I use for my container. You guys have seen this before, but I really love this. This is kind of my all-around emergency food and water kit. So my primary container is my Nalgene Oasis. That's the one I drink out of. It is a BPA-free plastic canteen. Mine is in coyote brown, so it goes with the rest of my kit. I keep both this one and that one on the belt of my ruck. And then when I go out, away from my ruck, I take the titanium heavy cover off and I put that on my regular belt so I can carry water with me. But I do that because then I have my canteen cup and lid. I have my fish mouth spreaders. I have a metal canteen that I can use to collect and boil and purify water in and eat out of, or I can make a tea in, so I'm not putting anything into the canteen other than water and purifying that. I also carry in here a folding titanium Tokes spork that I can eat out of the cup. If I'm able to make food, I can eat out of the cup. I carry a folding pocket. It's a MAM Portuguese sheep's foot knife that is razor sharp. I can shave with that. That is my food knife. I keep the spork, and I keep yet another clipper lighter in here, so I always have a lighter. And then often I have at the back here an Exotac ferro rod that is kind of an extra ignition source for that. On the other side over here, I have a Tokes Esbit fuel stove, so the little Esbit rectangle fuel tabs. I have a little titanium stove that has 3 legs that roll out to create a triangle base that my cup or my canteen can sit on top, and it has a little rectangle platform to put the fuel cube in, and I keep 1 fuel cube in with the stove and then 3 or 4 more so I can boil water that way if I can't get a regular fire going. Obviously my first choice would be to get a regular fire going and conserve that, but I have a way to boil water for a hot meal or hot tea, or to purify water. And then I also have in here in the back a sleeve of the Aquamira Aquamira potable aqua tabs to purify 1 canteen full of water. And so that's why I carry the canteens that I do, because those tabs fit the canteens to purify the water. They're for that measurement of water. And so that is my container kit. I don't typically boil in my cup or my canteen. I do that in my cook kit, but I carry this one when I go away from this because it now becomes my emergency cook kit if I have to do that. So that's my container kit. My little kitty here has decided she wants to be a photo bomber superstar in the video. So let's move on to cordage. This is not for you to play with, so just stay there. I carry my cordage in another MOLLE pouch, so I can strap it to the belt. I can strap it to my belt. I can strap other things to the outside of it if I need to. But I keep in here the 2 types of cordage that I use. Primarily for camp chores, I use number 36 bank line now. Inexpensive, and there's lots and lots and lots on it. I think that was a $30 roll, $26, whatever, for a 1 pound spool, which I believe is close to 1,000 feet, maybe even be over 1,000 feet. Lots of cordage, and will do almost everything I need to do around camp. And then if I need something heavier for like a ridge line or whatever, then I'll use the 550 paracord. I think there's about 85 feet left on here, but it's standard military spec 550 paracord in Coyote on a Coyote spool, and I keep an extra mini Bic, so I have another fire source on there, and it's a mini Bic because that's what this is designed to hold, so that's what's in there. And then there's a razor knife built into this so that I can cut cordage very quickly without having to find another tool. Then inside this particular pouch I keep various sizes and styles, if you will, of Night Eyes locking carabiners, ranging from 10-pound capacity up to 75-pound capacity, 10 or 15, I don't remember what it is, but up to 75-pound capacity, just little locking carabiners for tarp setups or whatever. But I keep 2 with prusik loops already attached. So if I have to make a quick ridge line and attach a tarp really quickly, and it isn't the tarp I would normally carry, I can go ahead and get that on really fast and get it deployed. So that is my cordage kit. Won't spend a lot of time on that because we're all pretty familiar with cordage anyway. So let me get that put away, and then we will move on to number 5. The number 5 is cover. Now I keep my emergency cover is a poncho tarpaulin in olive drab. It is a rain poncho that can then also double as an emergency tarp. It has tie-outs on it so that I can create an emergency shelter, and I keep that in a 10-liter red dry bag that I can just pull directly out of the back. I keep it along the back wall. I can reach in and grab it and pull it out. Very easy to identify against all the rest of my gear. And inside there is the poncho tarpaulin and a 100-foot hank of survivor cord, Titan survivor cord, which not only is regular paracord, the multi-strand paracord, but it also has monofilament fishing line as a strand, snare wire as a strand, and wax jute as a strand. So multifunctional survival cord in there. I keep some aluminum, aircraft aluminum tent pegs, and I keep some 2 more carabiners with prusik loops on it, And then I also have some high-vis Day-Glo orange with reflective fleck, I think it's number 95 paracord, that I use for my guy lines to set up my emergency tarp. So all of that is in there so I can get to it very quickly. All right. So let's get to the last 5 of our 10 C's. And I'm going to go ahead and start with a candling device. Again, not worried about brand name or whatever, but I chose what I chose, which is a Black Diamond Storm 350 lumen headlamp. I chose it because when I carry electronic stuff, other flashlights or whatever, all of those items use AAA batteries, and so I picked this because it uses AAA batteries. It has a 350 lumen spot or flood white light. It has a strobing white light feature. It is fully dimmable, so 350 down to, I believe, 75 or 50 lumens dimmable. It has a cantilever head plate, so I can adjust the angle of my light. I use a headlamp because I like my hands to be free, especially at night. Then it also has red, green, and blue LED features, so preserve night vision, use on water, or for tracking. And then the red feature also has a strobe, an SOS strobe, so I really like this. So headlamp is my candling device. Next would be compass. I use a base plate map compass. I chose the Sunto MC2 Global Edition. It has adjustable declination. It has the regular base plate with the map scales. It has a magnifying lens, which is strong enough to be able to start a fire. I've not actually done it myself, but I've watched videos of people doing it, and I live in the desert, so I have huge amounts of sun, so I'm sure that will work. It has an adjustable ring bezel. It has the mirror, so I can use it for, checking myself for something in my eye or on my face, cuts, looking places where I couldn't see very easily to see about ticks or cuts or splinters. I can use it for signaling, and then it has glow-in-the-dark features. And I have taken off the reflective cordage neck strap, and I have replaced it with a mini paste bead set that is glow-in-the-dark beads, and so this will glow green along with all the accent pieces on the compass. The bezel glows, the needle glows. There's a couple dots on either side of the doghouse. There's alignment or azimuth marks, so you can line everything up with dots there. So that is my compass. Next is my canvas repair kit, or what I call a sewing kit, is what most of us would call it. And I keep not just a sail needle. I used to keep a sail needle on the back of my knife sheath, like a lot of people do. I actually had the adhesive on the Gorilla Tape melt in the heat, and I lost the needle. So I've stopped doing that, and I now carry a little sewing kit. So I bought this Singer multi-needle set, which has hook needles. It has a sail needle. Anyway, it's got all that, and then I keep a spindle of waxed thread that I can use to stitch anything I would need to. So that is my canvas repair kit. Next would be cargo tape, and pretty much universally recommended is Gorilla Tape. Seems to be much better in quality than standard duct tape. You can use it for medical purposes, for waterproof sealing of bandages, put over whatever. You can use it as emergency tinder. It's flammable. You can repair a tent, a tarp, a poncho, your pack. Anyway, it's just fantastic. So I use the 1-inch Gorilla Tape, and in my first aid kit that I keep on the belt of my ruck, or I can move to my belt, I keep a small individual first aid kit, and in that I keep the little credit card that I talked about in one of my previous videos, where I keep about 10 feet of this, I keep about 10 feet of Lucatape P, and I keep about 10 feet of electrical tape on that. And the electrical tape I typically put on there is white, So no matter what color of tarp I have, especially the darker green or the camos, I can use that to put the X's on, which is the universal symbol. 3 X's is a universal symbol for need help. And so I can mark that on even my dark tarps or my emergency tarps so that people can see from the air that I'm requesting assistance. So the last item of the 10 C's is my cotton cloth. And I talked about how I keep extra cotton linen fabric cloth in both my combustion and my tinder kit. In this, I said it's not my 10 C's, but my tool maintenance or my tool care kit. I keep a cotton bandana in there, but I also carry a schmog with me everywhere I go when I go out in the woods. You'll notice it is the matching colors, the coyote and black, to go with my desert themed setup. But a schmog has so many uses. It can be used to provide shade. You can stretch it out to provide shade cloth. You can put it over your head. You can dip it in water and wrap it around your neck to be cool. You can use it as a sheet. You can use it as a washcloth. You can use it as a tourniquet. You can cut it into strips and use it as bandages. You can put it around your neck as a sling for an arm that is injured. You can wrap it around stuff and haul stuff like wood or whatever. You can put it around your nose and mouth so that you can breathe in dust or smoke better. Just so many uses. If you Google uses for a schmog or a bandana, there's literally tons of uses for them. And then another one is it's extra material to make char cloth. If I run out of everything else, I can cut off pieces of this to make char cloth. But just so many uses for it. Again, like a scarf to keep warmth. Tons and tons and tons of uses from one little piece of material. I always keep one in the lid pocket of my pack so that I have it if I need that. So there you have it, my 10 C's. We've covered cutting, combustion, cordage, container, cover, candling, compass, canvas repair, cargo tape, and cotton cloth, as well as my conveyance device, my ruck setup. I hope you guys find that useful. Again, not worried about brands or whatever, but just wanted you to see that's what I pick and why. And I hope you guys will find it helpful in your stuff, and look forward to seeing your videos and what you carry and why. We can all learn from each other.